not in my words, not in that way, not in my name, not in my faith, not in my words, not in that way.
Welcome, viewers, to another edition of A Muslim's Perspective. Peace and blessings of God be with you all. Praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him and we ask Him for guidance and forgiveness. And we seek protection in Allah from the malice of our own souls and the evil of our actions. Whom Allah guides, no one can lead him astray, and whom He makes astray, no one can lead him back to the right path. I bear witness that there is no other deity but Allah by Himself and no associate to Him. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His servant and messenger. Today we are featuring Smile Canada Support Services, and our representative is Nida Khan. Assalamu alaikum, Nida.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. First, allow me to introduce you to our viewership. Nida attained a Master's of Public Policy and Administration with a concentration in social change leadership. Her research includes emotional intelligence training for law enforcement officials to combat rates of police use of force and promote cultural sensitivity and care. At Smile Canada Support Services, Nida is an Urdu-speaking service navigator, providing direct family support and connecting families with children and youth with disabilities with culturally relevant support and services, as well as to help them navigate education and healthcare sectors. Nida also focuses on disability, inclusion and awareness advocacy with hospitals, schools, and other community organizations. Disability, be it physical or intellectual, has always been a part of the human experience. However, those so challenged have been generally marginalized and sidelined from participation in society. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings of God be with him, God's last prophet and messenger, is rahmatul lil alameen, mercy to the worlds. And some of the lessons we can extract from his example, peace and blessings of God be with him, is opportunities for living a life of fulfillment should be allowed to all persons. Society should facilitate and accommodate those with disabilities to excel. Cultivate and nurture the dignity and self-esteem of all persons regardless of any disabilities. Do not mock anyone regardless of their individual challenges, and take special care, be concerned, and give adequate consideration and attention to those with disabilities. The Prophet, peace and blessings of God be with him, inspires the abled to relieve others from hardship when he said that whomever removes difficulties in people's lives in this world, God will remove his or her difficulties in the hereafter. He, peace and blessings of God be with him, also instructed us to take care of the vulnerable by promising, "You are given your sustenance and victory by virtue of those who are weak amongst you." So, Sister Nida, what is the mission of Smile Canada Support Services?
So, Smile Canada Support Services is a charity dedicated to supporting racialized children and youth with disabilities and their families. Smile's focus area is diverse Muslim communities, including refugees and new immigrant families. So our vision is to ensure that all children and youth are smiling. And our plan of action is to do this by supporting families through various programs and services, like you mentioned, in a culturally responsive manner.
And may I ask, what brought you from public policy and administration to this type of work? What motivated you personally to get involved in this?
Personally, I, like any recent graduate, was looking for a job. And I mentioned this to my executive director, Sakina, as well, that when I came across Smile through a friend and my sister, I've never heard about Smile before. And then when I started reading up on them and the supports that they offer, especially to our Muslim brothers and sisters and those who have disabilities, and I resonate with both. So I'm both a visible Muslim hijab-wearing woman, and I do have a disability, both invisible and visible. So I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. How come I've never heard about this organization before? And then I just did an interview, immediately fell in love with the organization, and alhamdulillah, I've been here for a year now.
Okay, so and how long has Smile Canada Support Services been in operation?
So Smile has actually been around for over a decade, and just within the past few years, I want to say we've grown quite exponentially. So we started because, we saw there was a lack of support for this specific demographic. Persons with disabilities are amongst the most excluded and exposed groups worldwide, I'd want to say. And over 25% of Canada's population specifically lives with a disability or a long-term condition. So currently, Canada's healthcare system addresses acute care. But with respect to persons with disabilities, there's a significant gap in adequately addressing and fulfilling their ongoing needs. So children and youth with disabilities are in need of more consistent and long-term healthcare support that is tailored to their specific needs. This form of support is currently not available in Canada's current healthcare system. So what do I mean by the support? This includes regular, affordable, and accessible therapy sessions in order to maintain the skills and daily routines of children with disabilities. So this includes, but also includes more than this, but there's speech therapy, physiotherapy, behavior therapy, and occupational therapy. The support also includes acquiring assistive technology and adaptive equipment. So this includes wheelchairs, bath seats and commodes, ceiling track lifts, hearing aids, things of that nature. And also for them to access necessary resources in a culturally responsive manner. So this means services and resources that are provided in various languages, programs that include relevant cultural practices and elements of various backgrounds, etc. So as the support is not being adequately provided by our current healthcare system, countless racialized families with children and youth with disabilities are left without the critical resources that they need in order to maintain a satisfactory quality of life. And Canada is a huge multicultural country. We have a lot of refugees and immigrants, alhamdulillah, that come to this country, but they're not able to access the supports that we have because there is this lack and this gap that we find.
Yeah, and then a parent dealing with a child of disability is also disadvantaged because they can't get optimal work because they need to be available to their children or child.
Exactly. We see that time and time again. So actually, for Smile specifically, we support close to 500 families in Canada. 95% of those families live in Ontario. 70% of these families demonstrate a financial need. So this could mean they receive some sort of financial assistance through the government. 40% of families have more than one child with a disability. 32% of our families are single mothers with children. 2% of our families live in shelters, and 52% of our families do not speak English fluently. So there's a lot. Our team is very small, but we're very, passionate and motivated, but there's a lot of support needed. And as we see throughout the years, this need is just increasing as people are becoming more aware of our organization.
How does your support services, overlap with Dean's support services, if I might ask?
Of course. So from what I understand, Dean specifically caters towards adults with disabilities. I'm not sure if they also do provide support to children, but our specific demographic is children and youth with disabilities. So we do provide support to parents as well, because you can't not support parents and support children at the same time. A lot of the care is from the parents, but things such as financial assistance for therapy sessions for children, adaptive equipment that they might need, respite services that affects the quality of care and quality of parenting that they receive. These are things that fall under what we provide.
And looking at your team, you mentioned your team. Your team seemed to be relatively young people. You know, probably not out of their 30s yet. A lot of sisters are involved. You want to comment on the composition of your team?
Yes, of course. So you are correct. A lot of our team is young. I feel like I'm probably one of the oldest ones on our staff, but I think Smile works really well because our staff is very diverse. We like not only our internal staff, but also executive members and board members. We're all representative of the various cultural backgrounds and religions that make up the population that we service. This ensures that our families, sorry?
No, go on.
Okay. This ensures that our families receive the most tailored, qualitative service possible. I think because we're young, we have a lot of energy. We're able to connect really well on social media to the younger population as well. But our executive members, our board of directors, are made up of those who are older. I'm not going to say a lot older, but they have been in this for a very long time, since the birth of Smile. So for over a decade, and they have built those solidified relationships with local community organizations, mosques, schools, whether that be Islamic, public, or private. And because of this, this allows our families to interact with and get their needs fulfilled from services that we might not be able to provide, so that we can connect them to other people in other organizations. I also feel like because we're young and we're learning, we are very culturally responsive and culturally sensitive as well. So at Smile, we employ a culturally responsive lens in all levels of program and service development and delivery. We ensure that families of all cultural backgrounds, religions, and contexts are able to reap the benefits of our programs and services. We provide all program materials and general organizational communications in multiple languages. So whether that be in Arabic or Urdu, we're working on translating materials into Farsi, into Somali. We incorporate the various cultures of all of our families into our program curriculum to further ensure the utmost inclusion in all spaces and that it's being achieved.
Speaking about inclusion, you mentioned that your staff is not only composed of Muslims. Can you give us a sense of a little more detail on that, the composition faith-wise or ethnicity-wise?
So our staff, I would have to say, is mostly Muslims, like our specific internal staff. There's maybe 10, 11, maybe 12 of us. We're very, very small organization. We have people from Pakistan, myself included, people from Sudan, people from Lebanon and Syria, and Palestine, sorry. We have staff from Somalia. And many of our staff members speak different languages as well. So that ranges from Pashto to Urdu to Somali. We also have an Afghan staff member as well, speaking Farsi, and then different dialects of Arabic as well, because different countries speak Arabic differently. So that's also something we take into consideration as well.
And in terms of faith, I see on your website, you have, people, I think I recognize somebody of Sikh faith on your website.
That could possibly be a volunteer or maybe a board member. Our internal staff, I'm not going to lie, we're all Muslims currently, but we don't turn away anyone or reject anyone based off of faith. It just so happens that most of our families are Muslim families because our executive director and our board members saw that this was a specific group that needed these supports and services, that there was a huge gap for these racialized families. But the families that we service, a lot of them are Muslim, but a lot of them are not practicing any religion, or they are Sikh, or they're from the Philippines. They practice different religions, Catholic, Christian. We don't turn anyone away.
And in terms of the specific programs that you offer, is there some particular niche of disability that you focus on? Is it, say, for example, only blind or how is what your area of expertise? Is it across the spectrum or particular expertise in areas?
So in terms of disability, we don't have one specific definition that we kind of follow. It's anything that might impede someone's daily living. Some of our families do have diagnoses for their children, while others don't. But we do have children who are blind, children who can't hear, children who have cerebral palsy, children who have autism, children who have ADHD, ADD, anxiety disorders. It's a wide spectrum, to be honest. In terms of the programs and services that we offer, we try to tailor it as best as we can to the needs of the children and the families. So for instance, one of our main programs that a lot of families find benefit in is our scholarship financial assistance program. So as I mentioned, over 50% of our families present a financial need of some sort. And therapies can cost anywhere between $100 to $150 per session. And each child needs multiple types of therapies. So these sessions, this equipment, this technology, these are expenses that are in addition to basic living expenses that a family has, such as providing food and getting groceries for their families, or transportation, gas, things like that. So for a lot of our families, it's, do I send my child to therapy or do I buy groceries for the month? So our financial assistance program, all SMILE registered families are eligible to apply. If they're approved, they can be awarded any amount of money that's set by our board that they can use towards covering costs for therapy, for respite, for adaptive equipment, and assistive technology, because we know that these expenses are very, very high, and the government does not provide as much support as one might think or one might hope. So we would like to help cover those costs to the best ability that we can. Other than financial assistance, we do have parent coaching programs that we found were very helpful for families, especially during the pandemic. So when things turned virtual, a lot of things like essential therapies were shut down. And a lot of kids were stuck at home doing virtual schooling. And a lot of our children, they can't do virtual schooling. They can't stay focused or maintain attention while they're just staring at a screen for so long. So a lot of families saw that there was a regression in the skills that their children had due to this virtual environment and due to the pandemic. So we incorporated a parent coaching program where the parents specifically could speak to a qualified professional. So this could be a behavior therapist, a speech therapist, whatever therapist the family kind of wanted to focus their therapy on. And this professional would just speak to the parent about tips and tools, and strategies that the parents can utilize at home to help with these regression and skills for their children.
So,
Other things, yeah.
So the expertise which develop these programs or these interventions with parents or with the kids who need the help are all professionals, and the programs are developed based on the current, development psychology or skill set that are needed?
Exactly. So we actually have a healthcare advisory committee that's made up of professionals from the healthcare background, from education background, from background in the law. We meet with them regularly to just discuss programs that we're interested in doing for families. How would it work? What are best practices that we can implement? We also do research on our end. And of course, I think the most important thing is talking to families and seeing what works best for them. So we implement and we get, I guess you could say, perspectives from all of these backgrounds in order to improve our program delivery and program implementation.
And is your services offered at one particular location, or is it virtual? How is it offered? Is it there person to person, or how is it managed?
So actually, before the pandemic, SMILE was conducting everything online in terms of staff. We don't have a location, but whenever we did have in-person events, and we used to have a lot, this is what I've been told. I started working when the pandemic hit, so I've never seen these events. I've actually seen one, but we would rent out spaces and host those events there. So for instance, because our families are all across the GTA, we used to have a soccer clinic and different programs, things like that. So we would rent out a space on the West End. So West End families could register and attend those events. And then we would also aim to have East End locations as well. So families who were further away and lived in the East End could also attend and reap the benefits as well. And as we're transitioning more to in person again, inshallah, I'm assuming that's going to be the same case. During the pandemic, things had to be virtual. So during the past 2 years, all of our events, such as like arts and crafts online with education experts, go to on circles, those were conducted online. So children would just go on Zoom for an allotted period of time and just attend. And that's kind of how it worked.
Are you able to assess the impact that you have on these kids and the parents' families? What quality of life improvement that you see in them? Have they developed skills or, able to handle the stresses of being, a parent, handling the stresses of parenting a child with disability or a child with disability, improving their day-to-day ability to function independently?
I think the most important thing is that we're able to connect families to a plethora of different resources. So even within SMILE, we have parent support groups, such as mom support groups or dad support groups, where SMILE moms can connect with one another and they can share resources with each other, share stories of similar experiences, and just have a space that's safe where they can talk about things where another person might actually truly understand what they're going through. Other than that, because we're connected really well with other local community organizations, hospital staff, people in healthcare and education sectors, and again, our healthcare advisory committee, we're able to provide that support, whether that be advocating for children at school to get one-on-one support or to get an individual education plan that's very supportive and helpful for them, whether that be to talk to staff at Sick Kids or Holland Bloorview to see how they can be more culturally responsive to their clients, which are families of ours. I believe it has been impactful. We've heard many testimonials from different families saying not just the financial assistance, but the support groups that we have in place. We also provide mental health support as well to families. That's really been beneficial for them and helpful for them, especially because a lot of the times they talk to organizations or other companies and people just don't really listen to their needs or listen to what they want. And there are communication and language barriers. So when we talk to them, we conduct wellness check-ins just to see how a family's doing. What support do they need? But how has it been for the past few months? What do they need at this time? How can we help them? Because of course, they know what they need best. And then we try on our end to connect them to that support.
So families, the quality of life within the family structure is improved because of the intervention of SMILE Canada Support Services?
I would say to some degree, yes. I don't want to say that their lives are amazing because of SMILE. I mean, I know our executive director, Sakina, always mentions that she wishes that SMILE didn't exist because the challenges that our families face are very systemic in nature. It's things like government support, lack of cultural understanding. So we are there on a very intervention basis and hopefully moving to more prevention-based approaches. So we do provide ease and comfort and support during this time that has improved some quality of life for families, but a lot of the support that they do need as well goes beyond what SMILE can offer. So that's why making these connections to other organizations who have or hold more power and authority to make policy changes, that's hopefully where we get towards. But in the short term, yeah, whether that's financial support, mental health support, therapy, respite, SMILE is there to help families during that time. And they always mention, I think the best thing that they always say is their duas, like, SMILE has helped me so much. May Allah always preserve you guys. Ameen. And you guys are a light in our lives, and are the only ones who really truly listen to us. But we as staff see kind of the bigger picture of what more needs to be changed. So that's kind of what we focus on.
Alhamdulillah. Sister Nida, we'll take a short break and be back shortly with this very interesting session dealing with Smile Canada Support Services and the aid to those who unfortunately have to deal with disability, whether they be parents or children. Peace out until we get back.
Not in my faith, not in my words, not in that way.
We are with Sister Nida Khan from Smile Canada Support Services, and we are discussing the programs and the benefits that Smile Canada offers to its clientele. Sister Nida, I'm going to give you a little spin here now. You are the Urdu navigator. Much
Yes.
of our audience is Urdu speaking. Why don't you give us a pitch in Urdu about the services of Smile Canada so that our audience, those who, as you say, have language barriers, can access Smile Canada's services if the need is there?
So I'm going to be completely honest with you. My Urdu is speaking wise is not the best. मेरी उर्दू इतनी अच्छी नहीं है, लेकिन मैं समझ सकती हूँ. तो जब families मुझसे बात करते हैं, तो कभी-कभी मैं इंग्लिश में रिस्पॉन्ड कर दूंगी, थोड़ी सी उर्दू ऐड कर दूंगी. But I do struggle a little bit, but I'm grateful that the families are always like, no, your Urdu is fine. I can completely understand you. So I don't know if I can give you a great pitch. I'm so sorry, but we do have a different Urdu speaking service navigator who is a lot better than I am on our team.
Show you that your Urdu is much, much, much better than mine because I have none. So, so please, whatever you can, say in your basic Urdu, please.
Okay, I will try. Assalamu alaikum. Smile Canada Support Services एक charity है और हम बच्चों के लिए support करते हैं. बच्चों जो disabilities है उनके पास हम financial assistance और therapy और healthcare education support दे सकते हैं. आप please हमें check कर दें. website पे हमारी Instagram भी है, Twitter भी है. और मुझे email भी कर दे और मैं आपकी सवाल इंशाल्लाह जवाब को सवाल कर. Sorry, your questions I will give you answers to, and hopefully better Urdu than what I'm doing right now, inshallah.
That was phenomenal because I have none of that. Thank you. Being monolingual, English is the only tongue that I speak. You spoke about COVID-19 and its impact on Smile Canada services. To what degree did that occur?
So even though we were virtual in terms of staff, like the work that we did, a lot of our programs were in person pre-pandemic, sorry. So when COVID hit, all of our programs had to move virtual. And this was really tough for our families because already our kids are going to school and their schooling has turned virtual. And we're hearing from parents that virtual schooling is not beneficial at all. The children have a very hard time focusing, paying attention, and getting the support that they need. And of course, it's hard for teachers as well, conducting classes and lessons in a virtual environment. So when we started having our events virtually, a lot of our families told us straight up that, we love Smile and the work that you do, but we're just going to be honest, they're virtual all day because of school. They're on their tablets, their laptops, whatever it might be. If it's a virtual program, it's going to be very hard for our child to attend it. And we need something in person. We need someone to look after our child, for them to go outside, to engage in these activities, because not only was there a regression in skills in terms of communication, speech, behavior challenges. There's also now this lack of social interaction that was really impacting these children. So we did try our best. I mean, we still had very good turnouts for a lot of our events, whether that be arts and crafts online, where we provided families with the arts and crafts supplies. We would mail it out to those who registered. There were difficult times, definitely, with getting children signed up or children even interested to do something online.
Yeah, I'm sure. And now that the province is lifting the COVID-19 restrictions, have you already planned programs that you can deploy so that the kids can again reconnect and reestablish their development points?
Yeah, so I know we've been pretty busy planning on how to execute programs and events in person. I know that's something we definitely want to do, but we also understand that the population that we service is a vulnerable population. A lot of our children do have disabilities. Their risk to getting even more sick. And I know we're hoping that the pandemic is behind us, but COVID is still there. So we want to ensure that we're doing this in the most safe way possible for the children and for their parents. We don't want to put anyone at risk. But we do understand the benefits of having in-person programming. So as we are working towards that, we're taking everything into consideration. And whatever families feel most comfortable with, again, if they're not ready to do in-person events or go outside and meet people, then again, that's up to them and completely valid. But we do want to have that option available because we do know it's beneficial for many children as well.
One of the disabilities that has made the headlines often in Ontario is autism and the government's non-funding of autistic remedies or therapies. Do your clients have, do you have this spectrum on your client base? And how can you, what sort of resource can you do to fill that gap?
Yeah, so a lot of our children do have autism. I think last time we checked, it was maybe over 200 of our registered SMILE children with autism. So in terms of OAP funding, so that's Ontario Autism Program, what they cover is they give basically a lump sum amount for families, and this money can run out quite quickly, especially like I mentioned, therapy. For instance, for one session can be up to $150 per hour. So if you have a child who needs speech therapy, who needs behavior therapy, who needs some sort of occupational therapy as well, and they need 4 to 5 sessions a week, that really adds up. And this funding that comes from the government, it's not close to covering what they need. And it's not given across their lifespan either. In terms of how SMILE provides support, it goes back to our financial assistance scholarship. It's not much, but families can use that funding if they're approved towards therapy. So if they're approved, we just ask the therapist to send us the invoices, and then we would release the funding to the therapist directly. But again, these are more short-term solutions. This also isn't long-term and sustainable. So we also try to connect families to other private grants that they can apply to, or other organizations such as SAAC, that's the South Asian Alliance Committee, that also provides support and services to children with autism throughout Ontario. There's also Teen Support Services. We do refer families sometimes there to them as well if the parents are having any challenges. And just other places such as Carrie's Place, Children's Treatment Network, anywhere that they can get that support. There's Jennifer Ashley Children's funding. So families have to really look into different funding that's available, because what the government provides is not enough. And if you have a family that's a new immigrant or a refugee who doesn't speak the language, trying to navigate through these forms that you have to fill out, these websites, it's not easy. Just a few days ago, our staff, like our service navigation team, was trying to find out the services and grants that are available through Government of Ontario. And just navigating their website, it was a headache for all three of us. We're like, wow, this is not easy to navigate. And we were born and raised here. We speak English very well. So just knowing what's available is also, there's a gap there as well. It's very hard.
Government doesn't make it easy for you to find the information. You need to find it when you need to find it.
Exactly, they don't.
And you speak in terms of, the impact on kids, particularly with autism, and you use the word navigate. So a lot of your services is towards helping parents understand the system and how best to optimize the benefits that are available. Will that be one aspect or one of the major aspect of your operations?
Yes, so I'm a service navigator, specifically a part of the service navigation team. And that's a huge aspect of Smile because we understand just navigating not only healthcare, but education sectors, also legal issues. It's not easy whatsoever. So we're kind of there with that cultural responsive lens to help break down those communication language barriers to get those supports and explain it to our families. This is what's available. This is what you need to do. These are the forms you need to fill out. These are the documents that are required for it, and what exactly this funding or whatever it might be, what it entails. So yeah, Smile Canada, for sure, a lot of our work does go into service navigation because it's very much needed.
Be a very complex web of services that are available, that there is no one location where a parent in need to access these services can simply go and get these benefits, and making the necessity for a service navigator so essential to them being able to optimize the benefits that are available.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not easy. There's not just one place that a person can go to and be like, oh, this is everything that I need. Even if there is a space that has a lot of resources, it might not be in Urdu, it might not be in Arabic, it might not be in Farsi. So they wouldn't be able to navigate that easily themselves. They would need someone to help with that process as well.
Which barrier, in addition to the technology barrier? Is there a role for volunteers in Smile Canada? And a lot of our viewers might be listening to this and might be motivated to reach out to assist. I mean, this work is needed, and it's being offered to the community. And a lot of people might think, that's something I'm interested in. Is there a role for volunteers in Smile Canada?
Of course, we're always actively looking for volunteers. We actually, for our in-person events, we used to have volunteers at those events all the time, whether that be our rec fest or sports events, our galas. We would always need all hands on deck. As we move to more in-person events, I'm sure we're going to need volunteers. We also have a virtual respite mentorship program. So when I was talking before about social interaction and building those social skills for our children, we initiated this respite program where we match a Smile child or youth with a mentor. And this mentor would spend maybe 1 hour a week just talking to the Smile child or youth. And this is conducted virtually, so over Zoom. I know a lot of the mentors would play games with the child online or watch movies with them or read stories to them, just to be that mentor. I know some even helped with homework, and there's different aspects, whatever kind of the child is interested in. So I know that's very beneficial to both the mentor and the Smile child or youth. There's definitely a lot more programs and information available on our website. But if anyone is interested in volunteering, please feel free to email me directly, or you can email our program coordinator. You can check out our website. There's a volunteer form there as well that you can fill out. And inshallah, someone will get back to you. But we're always looking for volunteers. I think the more that we get the community together, the more we can even build awareness on the supports that we have and the much needed community services that these families need.
And that's your website is smilecan.org.
Exactly.
SMILECAN.org. Are there any fees associated with you providing these services, whether it's skill development or therapies or navigating through the system? Are there any fees payable by the beneficiaries of these services?
No, not at all. So none of our programs, none of our events, not registering with Smile. There's no fee whatsoever for any of our families for anything that we provide.
And so then, therefore, how is Smile Canada Support Services funded?
So we're mainly funded by donor dollars, and a lot of our donations do come in Ramadan. That's when we try our hardest to get donor dollars, but we also apply to grants. So government grants, private grants to fund specific programming that we have. So for instance, our financial assistance scholarship program was funded by Penny Appeal once. They also funded our respite program that we had just this last year in 2021. So these are things that we have to apply to. We have to wait to see if we're approved or not. We were approved. We applied for a mental health counseling program through Canada Post. And so we were funded through them for sessions, to cover sessions for our families and their children and even siblings of the child. So yeah, it's different grants that we will look into to apply so that we can fund different programs that we have.
Yeah, I get the sense, and I don't know if this has been your experience, where we have these fantastic Muslim charities set up, but most of the funding leaves Canada and goes to, quote unquote, the home country. And there is a needs over here that are left unfulfilled. Is that the experience of Smile Canada?
Absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of the work other Muslim organizations do is very commendable, mashallah, and they do a lot, especially for our Muslim brothers and sisters internationally. But we notice that there's a huge need right here in our own communities, in our own neighborhoods. And many of the families that I speak with, they feel isolated. They feel neglected. They feel that no one really cares about them and doesn't care to hear about their stories and what they need. That's kind of where Smile comes in, because we understand that, you know, there is this population that needs support and they're just being overlooked. And I don't know if it's because people don't think about disability, don't care about disability, or maybe there's a lack of knowledge. I know a lot of people think, oh, well, you know, the government supports them, so they should be fine. But that's hardly the case. It's hard to hear, but a lot of our families have mentioned terrible remarks made by people from within our own spaces in our own community saying, you know, like, you should get over it, or this is a punishment from Allah, and things of that nature. So these kinds of things also make them feel more left out. And that's why we also try our best to advocate in Islamic schools and Islamic spaces and masjids and mosques, because these places are also not very accessible. There is lack, for instance, of like ramps for children and youth or even adults with wheelchairs to get into these spaces, or no elevators, or, you know, for someone who's blind to have like a Braille Quran available for them to read. Just many things, lack of lighting, wider like hallways and spaces for people to get through, whether they have like balance issues or mobility issues. There's a lot of things that are kind of overlooked. And I don't want to say it's because, you know, like, oh, our Muslim brothers and sisters, they can figure it out. I just think there's not a lot of knowledge about it, not a lot of awareness. So spreading this awareness and talking to our community leaders and going to these spaces to spread this awareness, I think is just as important as providing services and supports to our families. So everyone else can also start looking within their own spaces and within their own social circles and see, oh, like, how can I provide support? Like, I never thought about this before. Maybe I can implement this to make people feel more included.
Fortunately, even able-bodied women don't have access sometimes to many masjids.
Very true. Or the women's entrance is somewhere in the back of a forest and very steep stairs, no lighting. Yeah,
it's unfortunate, but so is there any program within, let's say, Smile Canada and in coordination with Dean Support Services to advocate to Muslim charities, to a lot of the charitable organizations, whether they are masjids or otherwise, to actually pay attention to this needs? What sort of outreach is there to educate and to advocate that, hey, this is a local population that really needs some support here? Is there an active program, or you just leave it to, being generic?
So it's not a program, I would say, but we do have an education and outreach coordinator. And we are actively always, I think ever since the birth of Smile, speaking with many, many organizations, community leaders, whether that's in Islamic or non-Islamic spaces, just to provide insight into this. So on the more, I guess, broader front for, let's say, like Sick Kids Hospital, Holland Bloor View, in schools, public schools, just to spread awareness on culturally responsive care to professionals on that end. And then on the Islamic spaces end, to talk to these leaders. We've spoken many times in like different masjids, holding conversations with, I know our education outreach coordinator held community conversations with different community leaders, such as Sheikh Omar Suleiman, Sheikh Imam Khalid Latif, Ustada Mariam Amir, just to spread the awareness of disability issues within Islam, and how it's something that should be taken seriously and taken into consideration. So it's a fight we're constantly fighting, I feel, conversations we're always having, and not to say it's not going anywhere. I do feel like we spread so much awareness. A lot of people are starting to understand and see the needs that there are, but there is a lot more work needed to be done. And so we just continue engaging in these conversations, in these forums, in these presentations, sitting on board meetings and different meetings to get our voices heard, because we now have to advocate for our families. We want to have their voices heard, and they've been trying to speak for so long and they're not feeling like they're heard. So that's a part of our job as well, to uplift their voices and see some change, inshallah.
Inshallah. And if any of our listeners, viewers wanted to financially support, whom or what mechanism is in place to do that?
So on our website, like you mentioned, smilecan.org, there is a button that says donate. You can go directly there. Our donations are zakat eligible. They're also sadqa as well. You can decide how you want to go about donating. It's pretty easy. You can also be a monthly donor. You can choose what amount you want to donate monthly. If you just want it to be a one-time amount, it can be a one-time amount. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Right on the website, there's a huge donate button, and inshallah, please donate to our cause.
Inshallah. And, the cause itself speaks for itself. And the programs that you offer are necessary for those who are most vulnerable in society. And our Prophet ﷺ taught us throughout his mission, and that was his focus, to lift those who are most vulnerable in society, be they widows, be they orphans, be they people with disability. I mean, there's so many stories we can narrate about his example. Are there any brief last messages you would like to give us, our viewers, before we say our byes?
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to say thank you again, Brother Alim, for having me here and just allowing me to talk about Smile and the work that we do. I guess just a last message. As a person with a disability, I feel like I have been very blessed in my life to have very supportive social circles and friends and families, and not have to face as many obstacles and hurdles that I've come across that our families have had to face. And I would just say, please reach out within your Muslim spaces, within your communities, talk to people, ask questions, never assume. It's always good to be empathetic and try to learn as much as you can. Maybe next time you go to a space, see, is this space accessible? Would my Muslim brother or sister who has a disability, whether that be visible or invisible, would they be able to access this? Would they be able to feel included in this place? And how can I make them feel more included? Because you might feel like you're just only one person, but one person and their thoughts and their perspectives can go a long way and can make really big changes. So engage in conversations, I would say. and just try to learn as much as you can.
Sister Nida, it's been wonderful being educated about what Smile Canada does. And, we hope and pray that Allah blesses the efforts and bless all those who are engaged in it. And until we meet again.
Thank you so much. Walaikum assalam.
Viewers, until next time, peace out.
Not in my name, not in my faith, not in my words, not in that way, not in